talking about tonight? Is everyone here?
Never know.
Exactly.
No, not at all.
One thing over the years, I actually count the cars and put your mind at ease, because it takes 20 cars actually takes up a lot of space. So you kind of all of a sudden it's like 20 ads. That's nobody. There's nobody.
Yeah.
20's not.
My youngest.
You want to borrow one too?
Yes, please.
You want red?
I don't care.
I'll give you the cookie pen so I don't talk about it. I know who I
I'm
am.
reading this.
Remember what color pen you got?
I'm a clicker. We have cookie pens at work all day.
I would be coming over to you and grabbing your.
Oh, I've had people do that. They just come up.
Yeah, and I'd give you another pen that doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. You go.
How are you?
This is not what you say.
They really isn't. Exactly. Exactly.
Just to confirm, you have
They just said that we met.
Yeah, this is the other day.
Is he gonna be here tonight?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Well, he might actually be here.
Is our meeting next Monday?
Yes.
The 13th, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it was maybe.
I was going through them.
I know, I thought I missed it tonight.
I know.
That's all right.
I was confused with the education one there, so it got changed.
Amy.
I do, it's such a burden.
Lucky lady.
Here's your warning.
Yeah. 6 minutes.
Yeah, you got 4 minutes, get prepared for it.
Do I call the meeting minutes?
6 minutes.
I need to know.
Do I call
Remember what
the
she
meeting
says?
minutes?
And I never miss a meeting.
Mark, do you want the meeting minutes too, or you just calling it? Do you want me to print the meeting minutes from our meeting, or are you just gonna wing your report?
Just wing it because we really didn't cover that much.
Wing it. Throw it out there.
So you bring there instead of.
Thanks, Marcy.
Yeah,
Enjoy the
I picked the right print, right?
How you doing?
Good. I'm gonna get 2 David Bartlett new.
There are?
Two.
That's lucky.
That's right, they like you extra.
Yeah, right.
I remember so nice when they want to make sure they remember your name.
Put them right next to each other.
Just put it next to the person next to you and see that.
Tara and Dee should be landing in an hour.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they got pushed back a little bit.
Did they?
Yeah, they gave like 40 minutes to the trip.
All right, well, at least they're
They're in the sky. They're on
on
their
their
way.
way back.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
yeah. Yeah. Liz is picking up Terry tonight. No
Yeah.
matter when they get to the place, and
I
just to
bet.
get her home.
Well, when I saw her at PTA on Wednesday, she was heading to Dubrovnik, so going to Boston
She
is
was looking
nothing.
at Croatia flights last week.
Yeah.
Go out and get her.
Yeah. Give me some notes, Mark.
I'm getting in the office.
I'm like, what happened? Okay.
Basically, it was when you did. We were moving because when we did, we came in.
A bid, which said bed, and going what?
For the PA system.
Yeah.
That's what
Did they get installed? I haven't seen any reasons about it.
I don't think it's installed.
Maybe it's soon.
Sure.
Well, apparently
I'm hoping you're
I
saying by
because
Thanksgiving.
Marcy isn't here.
She's supposed to be before then.
Okay.
It was a 3-week order time from the last meeting, so.
I think it should be in about,
It's probably
Yeah.
here, but it just probably isn't.
we're gonna find out.
I think it is here, I think I saw it on the minutes or something. It said it was here, yeah, just not yet struck yet.
They're waiting for you to come, Brian, and hook
Good.
this puppy up, that's why.
I'm excited.
They want you to hook it up. No.
I already gotta do AV at my job. I gotta add a whole AV system to both hotels in that health board.
Okay, I was in the summit the other day. It looks nice.
The summit? Yeah,
Yeah,
we've done a
that's
lot of
great.
work.
Yeah.
We're not quite 90s anymore. The rooms are are 90 still.
Well,
Yeah.
you get them into the lobby and they cook them and then it doesn't matter. That's right.
Exactly.
Once
Yeah.
you've got it, you know.
Oh, there you go.
Is that pre-existing?
Supposed to go right.
I thought we should be about
It's
that.
in the hour.
Is that his name?
He's good, he's very approachable, which is nice. He's good to reach out to.
Very responsive, bilingual, but very responsive.
Oh, sorry. Taking that one. I'm just making a motion to call it, my usual role.
Good.
Meredith, Tara, and Marcy will both be from us.
We should, we're not here, we're not here. Stevie is here.
Okay, so just the whole thing is gonna be very long.
No, not at all.
No, it's fine.
Agenda, no
I just, you know,
motion.
ordinarily, what happens is that I,
You should be going.
No worries.
what do you got?
6:29.
Yeah. There you go. Well, you're right.
Meredith, Nancy,
And Dick.
and David Bartlett,
Who's
who's
sitting
over
right
there. Yeah.
Oh,
There's two David
There's two,
Bartletts.
oh, that's right, yeah.
Two David.
Good evening, everyone. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please join me in a moment of silence for all of those affected by the recent tragedy in Lewiston? The first order of business is action on minutes. To see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the minutes from the meeting held on September 25th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved?
Second it.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any discussion?
I just had one comment on number 2, actions on the minutes. It says I voted nay, but I actually abstained. Kind of a difference.
Certainly.
I just wasn't there for the meeting.
You said on number 2, Mark.
Yeah.
We'll note that and make that correction, Mark. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Next order of business is citizen comments. Do we have anyone here from the public that would like to speak?
My name is Idella Cooley, and I am a new resident.
My name is Misha Lee, and I'm a Bryant Palm resident. We are 8th graders in a public regulations class here at TMS. We'd like to take a few minutes to share this year's mission statement with you, as well as some positive things we have already done this year so far.
The mission statement of Telstar Middle School's 2023 to 2024 Public Relations class. We will create an inclusive, positive, and fun environment for everyone at TMS. We will learn new skills to help us grow and be able to inform our community of positive opportunities and accomplishments of TMS.
We will 1. Serve as role models and promote good sportsmanship/teamwork. 2. Try new things, explore opportunities, and stretch our comfort zones. 3. Share accurate and timely information.
So far this year, we have hosted 2 Star Assemblies. Star Assemblies bring our whole school together to celebrate student achievements. We create Star Awards for teachers to fill out about their students, and then we display them on their lockers the night before Star Assemblies. Our grade level teams also choose 1 student per month for the Superstar Award. These are the students who show respect, acceptance, and perseverance in all their classes. We also invite students to show their talents, and we offer compliments and questions. It's also a time to share announcements, and we also like to promote a theme. For the month of October, we focused on acceptance and the benefits of differences.
Another year-long project we're working on is called Battle of the Classes. This is a grade level challenge for students to show their rebel pride. We've challenged the school to wear blue and white or the rebel gear on Fridays, and we are tying in participation in our popcorn fundraiser too. Moving forward, we hope to create an escape room challenge, as well as partnering with student leadership on various spirit activities.
Some of the skills we are learning are how best to create effective movies and to edit films, how to create visually appealing slides and flyers, and how to deliver information in front of a big audience.
Also, we are taking orders for the popcorn fundraiser.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice job.
The next order of business is board member comments. Is there anyone here that would like to comment? All right, moving on to the chairman's report. On October 25th, I attended a chair workshop in Augusta with Stephanie Herbeck. It was hosted by Steve Bailey and the current and past president of MSBA. There were people from districts all around the state there, so it was a good representation and gave us a good snapshot of what's going on and some of the differences. We learned, boards vary from 5 to 23 in numbers. And the workshop weighed in on effective governance, roles of the board chair, board members and superintendent, boardsmanship, community engagement. We touched on Robert's rules and many other topics. And it was discussion-based, so we got great feedback from different perspectives and different areas. This is the second time I've attended this conference, and I still found it to be very valuable. And then Mark and I just attended a meeting over in Rumford, the CTE meeting, the Career and Technical Education, correct? Yes. With Dwight Littlefield, the director, and we also had representatives from RSU 10. We had their board chair, their superintendent, and their assistant superintendent, the board chair from Andover and their superintendent, and also the superintendent and chair from RSU 56. And we really highlighted the differences between the region and centers and what that governance looks like and the policies or lack thereof, and had a good brainstorming discussion, and that was very valuable as well. That's all I have. Next is upcoming committee and board meetings. Our next board meeting is on Monday, December 18th at 6:30 p.m. That will be here at Telstar. The next education committee is on Thursday, November 9th at 3 p.m. in the Norway Savings Bank Conference Room. Finance and negotiations will meet Wednesday, November 15th at 5:15 at the superintendent's office. Facilities, Policy, and Personnel will meet Monday, November 13th at 5:15 in the Superintendent's office as well. And the Region 9 Cooperative Board will meet Wednesday, December 6th at 6 p.m. at the Region 9 School of Applied Technology. Next, we have committee reports for the Education Committee.
This education committee was scheduled to meet last Thursday. It was moved to this upcoming Thursday, so at this time I have nothing to report.
And Amy, for
I'm
Facilities,
taking
Policy, and
Marcy's
Personnel.
place when you kindly left me hanging 10 minutes before. Thank you, Sam, appreciate that. The main thing that we did at our last meeting, which was on the 2nd of October, was we voted to go ahead with a wireless PA system, which should be in this week, we're hoping. So we're very excited about that because the cost of that was much less, and it seems like it'll be less intense and staff will be able to handle hooking that up. We set our committee dates, the vape detector, did that come in, Mark? Yes.
Cameras and vape detectors have been installed.
So perfect, so we had cameras and vape detectors were installed, those are going in the middle school bathrooms, as we had previously discussed, and the CPS AC project hopefully is going to be wrapping up if it hasn't quite yet. Okay.
Thank you, Amy. Another board member on the spot, Mark, would you like to report to the Finance Committee?
Yeah, Finance met, we took no official action, but we spent most of our time talking about, well, there's a set of contracts that will need to be renegotiated this year. I believe it's custodial, food service, maintenance. And then we spent a lot of time talking about the difficulty hiring substitute bus drivers or the low wages that are offered them, and we're just going to have to do something down the road. But no action has been taken at this point. I expect we'll deal with it again soon. That's about it.
David, did Norm share anything with you? He did not share anything with me before he left. Sorry.
Okay. Nothing substantive.
Okay.
I will, of course, attend the next meeting and then we'll be in a position to say something substantive.
Perfect, thank you, David. Next is the Superintendent's report and correspondence.
Good evening, everybody. So far, we have a few transfers to report out. We have Dorothy Swan and Cheryl Rockwood, both were custodians at CPS, have now transferred to be custodians here at Telstar. Resignations, Mike Hart was a Telstar custodian here effective 10/31/23. Roberta Taylor as Region 9 representative for SAD44 effective 10/13/23. And Aggie Akinfora was a new ed tech at Crescent Park. Her resignation is effective November 17th of 2023. With our recent events that went on in Lewiston a little over a week ago, or a week and a half ago, just want you all to be aware of the collaboration that took place through that whole process, not only regionally with the other superintendents in our Western Maine region, which grew to the last meeting we were at, where 38 of us on Zoom through all the different processes, trying to make sure that everybody had similar information, but trying to make sure we get the same message out, worked on timing with closures and replacement of what we're doing for our staff. It was quite a collaboration, and it was really beneficial, selfishly, going through it, to have that resource, but also just the meetings with our own local crisis team and admin team. They were amazing. We met several times over Zoom, trying to plan out to make sure that we were taking care of the needs of both our staff and our kids, trying to help parents get the messaging out so they would know what to say to their kiddos, and then with the support of the board, but just trying to make sure that we did take those 2 days, that Thursday and Friday, to really, well, Thursday we all closed schools because we didn't know what was going on. Friday we gave staff the option to come in person or to Zoom in while we did some PD around checking in with everybody, making sure their needs were being met, making sure they had what they needed to get the messaging out to kids, to figure out what the schedule was going to be like. And then we did do a 2-hour delay on Monday to make sure that everyone being back in person. We were waiting to see what the events of the weekend were going to bring, which did change, thankfully, and then trying to make sure that as a school we were ready to welcome everybody back, to have things in place in case both students or staff need someone to talk to or need a break. They made the decisions to have extra bodies on hand. The social work crew was ready to accept kids as needed. They did an amazing job. Coming back on Monday was the right thing to do. It felt very normal in the buildings. The kids were in a good place. They were ready to be back. There was a little bit of COVID post-trauma from being remote and being out again, so they were ready to be back. Staff handled it very graciously. The goal was to get everybody back and to build our routines back, to try and make it as normal as possible. In this level, from grades 4 and up, they did have a piece that they read to the kids and just explained a little bit about the tragedy and why we did what we did, to make sure they knew what the resources were for them in place, and if they needed to get help or speak to somebody, it was available. And the whole idea is that we were not going to allow a lot of side conversation or misinformation being talked about in school. They were back in school and the focus was to be in class. And if they needed to talk about it, they could step out, but that, the goal was to try and give everyone that protected bubble the school is, and that as much normalcy and routine was established, and it went really well. And that was a lot of efforts that went in place for that, and very thankful for all those conversations and actions we took place. I was that Wednesday it all happened. I was at the MSMA conference in Augusta before Aaron and Stephanie were there. The superintendents met, and it was our whole national guest speaker at the conference was all focused on artificial intelligence, AI, and it was a remarkable presentation. Came with a lot of things to share with the A team and to bring back to staff. And the whole purpose was how can schools embrace artificial intelligence and not fight it? What are the ways we can use it to help teachers to do their job more efficiently? How can we teach the kids that this is going to help them, not trying to cheat the system, but to work with learning things and be more effective in doing that? They have all sorts of sites that are school friendly and appropriate, and just all the different ways that AI is actually being used and how quickly it's changing. And one of the biggest things they talked about is that the top 6 careers that in the last 3 years we've been preparing our kids for, they're not going to be there. AI is going to take over, and so we need to make sure that we're actually preparing kids for careers and futures that are going to be present, and how they can actually utilize these things and get the technology and the skills that will enhance those jobs that will always be there. So it was really informative. There's a lot to be coming. There'll be policies coming out eventually around this and how schools will, work with this technology. But it was really insightful to see all the ways it can be used positively and creatively, and all the things we don't even think about as being AI that we're living with right now already. But the educational focus on it was really enlightening and inspiring. And so it's something that we'll start to pick away at during the year, and not trying to overwhelm everybody, but trying to find a few ways that we can demonstrate and show people the benefits of it, and get a few teachers to kind of pilot a few things and then roll it out over time. Will be the biggest thing. Not trying to jump in too fast, because that could be dangerous as well. So that was informative. In your packets that came out, there's a reference to policy IJJ, which is the library media services policy, which also includes book challenges. We do have a formal book challenge that was put forth in the spring about a certain book that is in the Telstar library. There's been a committee assigned to review the policy and review the book, and they'll be coming to the board in December with their recommendation. And then you as a board will decide to either accept the recommendation or not. Everything is laid out in the policy under book challenges. The book title is Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. It is a book that has been in the library for more than 10 years. The circulation of that book in the library has been checked out 10 times over that span. It is not a popular book, but it does exist. And so when a challenge comes forward for the policy, It goes to the principal, which is part of a committee. That group of administrators, a librarian, teachers, and community members will get together, go through the policy, come up with a formal recommendation about the book being in the library or not. They'll bring it to the board, and it's the board's decision of what they do with that recommendation. So that will be on the agenda for the December meeting, and you will have a chance to weigh in then. So I just wanted to make sure you had that in time, and it wasn't just a last second gotcha moment. You need time to process and to know the policy and to be, aware of that. And if you want to read the book and choose to read the book on your own, you're more than welcome to do that. It's available online, or eventually the one copy that gets circulating amongst the committee to read, you might be able to find it. So that's coming up. That process, Scott?
Is the complaint itself confidential by law?
It is not, and
By
I
policy.
will share it out with the board. Once I make this announcement, I'll share it out so you have it ahead of time.
I don't know, I'm not really, actually, I sent you an email, I'm just kind of curious with the blank form, what it looks like, but I didn't
sure.
know that the whole thing's protected by
It's not.
law. Thank you.
Sure. So that's giving you a chance to know that before you come to the December meeting. That's not a vote that you can do without having some background and time.
What's the name of the book again?
Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
I got it on Amazon like 2 days ago and it was like $2, so.
Me too.
Is it a binary choice, yes or no, or is there a discussion for alternative options for it? Is it just a yes, we keep it, or we get rid of it?
No, there are options that will come forward, and depending on what the committee brings forward, then the board also has choices as to how that gets executed. So it's not a straight up yes or no.
How does the committee get formed? Who decides on that?
So
Or how did it get formed?
it is based on the building administrators of the building, the librarian, because she's here.
Great.
The decision was to add the department chair for the middle school, high school English departments, and then a committee, a parent, general committee member in the community. So, Stefan?
Is there a list of previously banned material? Do we have it?
We have not gone through this process or have anything like that, but there are books on there's a banned book list that Kelly has, and I can get that for you and send it out.
Okay.
We don't have anything local that we have gone
So this
through.
hasn't happened before?
This, no.
Okay.
One time?
Yeah, since Kelly Frazier's been librarian,
Okay.
that's 23 years, there's been one challenge.
Okay. Sorry. I'm not-
No, that's
not
fine. Just
mine.
to know if there was a historical book with historical, a list with historical information, it would be helpful.
To your knowledge, Mark, has any board, book ever been banned in Maine by a school board? I did my own research, like it's in the South, southern states.
There have been book challenges in the state of Maine, yes. There
But
was-
there's the poobahs decide it's gotta go.
I don't know the results of all those. I can look, I don't know.
I'm just
them.
curious if there's even a.
They've been discussed. There was
You
one
hear about
challenge.
challenges, but you don't really actually hear about what comes out of it. Usually.
I believe there was, but I don't want to miss, so I'll get specifics and I can email out to the board when I know for sure. I know
You
a couple
travel,
districts
you-
have shared their experiences of going through this, so.
Yeah, a few things work on, so that's just.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's not, I don't see that.
Sure. The PA system, so we've been told, is supposed to arrive this week, and then we can start to mount it in the building. The FCC license came in, so we have a 10-year license for the radio controls for that. It takes, they said, 20 minutes to mount per each device, and so the custodial staff and maintenance staff, and we'll ask for any volunteers, and some kids want to come in and get community service hours. It's 2 screws and a bracket per unit. I just have to be able to plug in. So it should not take too long. There'll be a control unit in each of the offices, so they can make their announcements to each office like they do now. It is separate from our current phone system, which is what our PA system is built off of. But it's a small unit, and it's something that we can expand upon and add to over the years. Everything is individual, so you can plug and play and mix and match as things come along. We have units in common areas, in the cafeteria, the gym, music room, Industrial arts room and weight room, where they got strobe lights attached to them, so they flash because they can not always hear those announcements. We can find common areas where they even have kind of a strolling message bar that goes across. We find certain areas over time, we can do different things, but we at least have the building interior and exterior covered, which is the most important thing. So once it's up and running, it's literally just everything, they pre-programmed it for us ahead of time. So everything's already been labeled, it's already numbered and ready to go so that it's easier to do all the different zones and codes. They pre-programmed everything. I gave them a list ahead of time of where, in the format where everything was going. So they know what's middle school, high school, what's both, interior, exterior. Couple other updates, the Woodstock roof update. We are still waiting to hear back from IRC as far as what the actual plan is going to be for that roof. They do not feel it's dire and that it doesn't even have to be done before the winter. There's no current leak happening. It's just what other damage will occur to the protective covering, the layer that's on there. So we're monitoring it. Arlen has asked that, you know, if they can find out and it's within our budget, we'd like to have it fixed sooner than later just because. But it's not something that's structurally threatening the building or going to create harm over the winter if it isn't taken care of. And then the AC project, oh sorry.
Work like that, roof work ought to be done in warm weather, Mark. Chemistry's better. You get,
Right. And so that's, you know, it's one of these things that's a mesh membrane, or it's a membrane that goes over.
just my thought.
Yep. It's like with tar, once you get to certain cold weather, they don't do the work, so.
You're fighting chemistry,
David?
And on the wireless speaker system, that's why we get 3 competitive bids. I'd like to see us get 3 competitive bids instead of just going with a company that has been with the school district for years and going with their type of thing. In this case, it worked out, getting the extra bids worked out for us.
They did. I'll agree. And then I heard from Dr. Murphy yesterday. He's hoping to have a meeting with the Honeywell people on the AC project at Crescent Park. Hoping that that's going to get wrapped up in the next week. We'll see. We've had that message before. We're still waiting for the final. I don't think they need AC yet, but they'll be okay. And then he did text today when I was driving back from Augusta to let the board know that as a district, he received another $20,000 grant towards the project with Community Concepts and the daycare center. So it goes towards our cash flow of helping to support the utilities. This is another donation from the Bingham Betterment Fund, which we already have gotten another grant as well, so this is in addition to. This puts up to a total of $125,000 have been brought in for that project specifically to help with our partnership in that realm. So we just want to make sure everybody knows that update. He's done well with that, and this is a second Bingham Betterment grant towards the same project that we've gotten. So the first one's for $30,000. This is an additional $20,000, which takes the whole total to $125,000. So those are the updates and where we are from last time. It's been over a month since we met, so we had an October meeting. So just want to make sure we're all there, and thank you.
Next order of business is old business. Seeing none, we move on. New business, adjustments to the agenda. We will table agenda item number 6. Steve Bailey is not able to join us this evening, so his orientation will get rescheduled. Number 2, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the second reading of policy BDE board standing committees. Facility policy and personnel will have a recommendation. Me.
Oh, it's back to me again. We recommend.
Do not need a second. Is there any discussion?
For the last meeting, is this a permanent? I said, is this something that we roll back in once we recenter and it gets reviewed separately in executive session? In the last meeting, I asked that. Is this like a one-time thing and it goes back into a committee, so we don't have another separate committee going?
this is to create a standalone committee.
Right, I asked at the last meeting if it was a permanent standalone committee, or if it's just until we recenter all the policies, and then it gets rolled back
I
in.
see what you're saying. Okay.
We can determine that at the time. We don't have to make the decision now. This can be reviewed at any time. This is the process of the committee, the policy review of like, it has in the past taken 3 to 4 years to go through everything, so.
Semi-permanent.
It'll be a little longer.
So this is happening because it was created a few years ago, there's nothing formal behind it. Is that the history of that?
It was when Mr. Marlino was board chair, he consolidated committees down, and
So I've heard his name a few times now, we're talking about those silly stickers with it on the warrants, but he didn't create it, the board voted this stuff in, right?
It was just, he proposed it and the board went along with it, and they went, and policies were not getting the attention they needed in the combined committee.
So that's the, what's the role of this committee? What an illustration of what it works on, is that?
So,
Maybe I missed something.
MSMA sends out regular updates for what policies should be updated to be in the updates with the laws, and they're vetted through Governor Woodson. Our policies, many of them, last time they went through full review was 1998. And we have a lot of policies that practice has changed, but policy does not back up. And I feel it's really important that we make sure that our policies support what we're doing on a regular basis, since everything is back to policy. And
I was on that committee for quite a while, and it was a lot. A lot of them hadn't been done for a long time, and it needed.
And I think the next batch was 2004.
Yeah.
Dates on them they're very outdated. And some of them might just need to be read and just say they were reviewed. Others, we have some substantial updates that need to happen. And the only way to do that is truly have time for the policy to focus on it.
In other words, it was just plain too much to add to the other duties of that
We
joint
never
committee,
got to
and
it.
therefore we
Yeah,
separated
we
it.
were too busy dealing with buildings,
So now we got.
facilities and personnel, and policy just
Policy
kind of
always,
got pushed
Okay.
down. So,
I can see why too.
Yeah.
So
So there's a policy committee.
in order to
That's not
create
just-
this,
that's not the executive.
it is easier to have a committee to focus on just this.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
It's a lot of
Separate.
work.
It's a separate and difficult problem, and it needs its own committee.
It does. To do it right and to truly have the time to focus on it.
Which has been suggested need not be forever,
Nope.
but clearly is needed
It-
now. Clear.
Any further discussion?
Not now.
Seeing none, all those in favor? Number 3, to see what action the board wishes to take with regard to awarding the bid for snow plowing for 2023-2024, and facilities policy and personnel with recommendation.
so I believe we only received one bid, so we're kind of stuck with that one, I guess we'd say. It did go up like $10.
In all the categories, essentially each breakdown of the bid, $10 an hour was the increase across the board.
And I
So-
assume that's from Cross.
It is from Cross.
It is.
They were the only one who submitted a bid. So it doesn't give us a lot of options, but that's who has the equipment and the willingness to do it.
Have we made, sorry, I don't mean this to come out wrong. What effort, if any, is it useful to make to try and get another bidder? I mean, we've been getting into this habit of, I find the same thing on another board I sit on. If they're the only people around, they're the only people around, but that's basically the situation.
Yeah.
Anyone else that we have tried to get has said, I won't come that far.
We have the
Come that
same
far.
issue in the town.
Yeah,
It's this,
okay.
you have to go with who
Answers
has
the
the
question.
equipment, are they,
And
how far are they willing to travel? Some of them are in Andover that have,
Yeah.
and
And to be timely for the schools to be open in time, the hours, it's tricky.
What is the estimate of maybe the total expenditure for the year, Mark?
Well, in going through the budget,
Yeah.
I learned that last year, the board budgeted $25,000 and spent 51,
And that's contracted plowing.
contracted plowing. And so, going through the budget this year, the recommendation is gonna be that we actually, knowing that that's been historical the last few years, that we're gonna budget what actually is closer to being spent versus keeping it the same, knowing that it isn't coming close to what we're spending. That's been something you can track of the last few budgets, you can see that.
Do you have a rough percent of the total surface area you're moving snow on? Is it all contract, or your staff is doing, how does it break down? Just rough, just curious. Is
They
it like
move,
80%
they
contract?
move 80 to 85%. And then our two maintenance guys try to get around, and the janitors at Crescent Park help to do the shoveling of their sidewalks, the
Clean.
walkways and the smaller pieces around. And what they don't bring back, what they go around vehicles that are in the way, they clean up.
I don't think $50,000 is unreasonable to move these surfaces here.
And they do prioritize the schools, make sure they're in before school opens, where the buses are through, that it's done. So,
These, one last comment, I think it's important. These are all, we talk about the finance committee, these are challenges of demographics. The reason there's no drivers, there's not enough younger people willing to, I'll say young men, that's a stereotype, but they're just not there for anything physical. It's just a tough part, interesting time right now. We're in, these are uncharted waters now we're in society. Thank you, that's all I have.
So we're going with the pass. We're gonna recommend passing that as we only have one bid.
we need someone to move the snow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Number 4, to see what action the board wishes to take with regards to the board chair and superintendent applying to the Maine Department of Education for a waiver for Thursday, October 26, 2023, which would reduce our student day count from 175 to 174. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
So this activity, as I'm learning how this process works, we can put in for this waiver anytime between now and June 1st. I've talked with both my colleagues in 17, 10, and 56 to see where they are and how they're processing this, having not gone through before. 10 and 56 are choosing, Mountain Valley and the Deergo, Dixfield areas, they are choosing to wait and see what their snow day count looks like, trying to keep that. We are required by state law for 175 student days. That's the minimum. In the past, we used to have, for a while, had 176 days in our calendar, which gave us some flexibility to remove one. In order to do this, because we were essentially in this part of the state shut down on Thursday, we can submit for that waiver, and it just removes a day from our calendar. The process is a Google form that I fill out, but the letter has to come from Erin as the board chair, and she has to be the one to submit it. But we can do that together. And then the commissioner said that she's going to approve waivers if people put in for them. It really comes down to, as a board and as a district, is that what we want to do? And so this is a chance to just get feedback from you. Friday, the day that we had staff come in, we're going to be able to count as a workshop day because staff did come to work. We'll be able to pay everybody for that. We will take one of the workshop days we have in June already in the calendar. We have 2 at the very end after the students are done. We'll just swap that out. It will not affect the end date for kids at this time as we're still going. If we do this process, it will give us all 5 of our snow days back. Right now, we've had to use 2 snow days for Thursday and Friday until this process goes through. And if you approve the waiver and the move of the workshop day, we will be back intact. We have the option, we've kind of followed the policy and procedure that we put 5 days in our calendar for snow days. And then if we use all 5, then we have the decision to go remote or add more days on. And we've had plans, we do have plans in place for remote snow days so that we don't have to do that. And it's not not selfish, but it's just reality that the longer you go into June, it becomes seat time and there's no quality educational effect happening. And if our job is to make sure that we are giving kids the best educational experience, those are not it. Those days in June are just, they are not in the best interest of staff and students. And so that's the purpose of this procedure and the reason bringing it to you as a board to get your weigh in on that. We can choose to put in whenever we want. We can do it before the end of this calendar year, or we can wait. That's something that we'll take feedback from you tonight on as to when you would like it to happen, if you want it to happen, and we can go from there. It takes 5 minutes, so we can go through it anytime. It's just an option we have open to us. So that's the purpose of having this on the agenda.
Have we ever not used our snow days?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
Fairly recently, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
not on the rare occasion, on the rare occasion. But you never know. You never know. It's not, for me, it's very unsettling in October to use 2 up, because you use 2 on the ground, not knowing what could be coming in the winter. It makes it a little bit challenging just looking into the future of this year, not knowing what's coming. David?
I think, Mark, that you made perfectly clear your own reasoning, and it's the correct reasoning about what we should do. Is there any value to postponing, or should we just get it over with?
That's kind of what we wanted to get a feel from you guys, because I think we'd rather do it sooner than later.
I think it's
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, and then
know.
you've got your certainty, and you don't get on with things.
It doesn't happen often. This is not a typical process. It's usually a much more challenging process to go through,
Sure.
but because of the
But because of the
circumstances,
circumstances,
we
take
have
advantage of
everyone's
the
control.
opportunity in that sense.
So, it's a local decision, and so we have the time. Planning purposes wise, it'd be easier to know what we're doing sooner than later, but we don't have to. If you want to wait and see, we get into January, February and see what the study's called, we can do it then too. If the board feels it's what we want to do, why wait?
Right.
It's just,
Right.
so, but that's just my opinion.
Oh, no way, yeah.
I second why wait.
So,
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? Thank you.
thank you.
Number 5, to see what action the board wishes to take to appoint David Jones to fill the Region 9 Cooperative Board Representative position vacated by the recent resignation of Roberta Taylor. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Stephanie, and a second?
Second.
Thank you, Cheryl. Discussion.
Let me just say that Norm briefed me most interestingly. I now have a little grasp of the history of Region 9 from the last 40 years, roughly, which time he has served on that board, and of course he's chairman. So, I don't feel like I'm ready, but I'm a lot more ready than I was before he rang up in the morning and said, let's meet and discuss it. So I want to thank him.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? Thank you, and thank you, David. And the last order of business, I have a motion for adjournment.
Yes, a motion.
I knew you'd go with that, Cheryl.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
No.
All right, all those in favor? Have a great night, everybody.
Favor.
Can we get an approved version of this?